We are on. Hi, welcome to our episode 3 of our mini course, Beneath the Soil. And this today we are really looking at answering some hard questions. So we want to just be able to hold this room for you and be able to be present. I'm really glad that you are here. It's going to be a great time together. So, at first, what I want us to do is mindfulness is the foundation to wellness. So, we just want to take a moment to really be present for ourselves. Take those deep breaths in. Exhale longer than you inhale. Take a little roll and drop the shoulder. Relax that jaw and just find a sense of presence and an opportunity to take a pause and a breath. And we're going to get started. Tonight, tonight is going to feel a little closer to the bone. We're gonna start feeling those somatic sensations that I talk about as we start to connect to some inner narratives that are driving us. Last week, we talked about the inner garden and this soil and the garden and the bedrock and the surface. And tonight, we're going to identify this sentence and these narratives that sit in our bedrock. The one underneath all of the resistance, the one that you ground to and comfort. We're going to find that tonight. It's not going to be easy, but it's going to be important. And remember, we don't have to have gratitude. We don't have to have acceptance. We do have to have a sense of presence. So just lean in. It's like a Chinese finger trap. We lean in to get out. And as we lean in and connect, then we have that awareness, the acceptance, and the action to know how we want to work through this. And that is what I'm here for, is to guide you through these moments and build the life and the purpose that you want in your life. So at the surface, we really see behavior, this procrastination, the overworking, the numbing, the freezing, these reactionary behaviors that we do for survival that we've been programmed to do. This is how we tend somebody else's garden, is we use these behaviors that we know will be successful. And in the soil, we find like beliefs and attachment patterns and these implicit memories that have been driving our survival. And remember that what neurohumanity says is that in an effort for survival, our primitive brain has been hoarding every stressor in our lives. Why? Because we survived it. And that means we may need it someday. So we're going to hold on to it for as long as possible. That's exactly what we're doing, is we're just reliving all of our stress moments because there's a comfort and a consistency and predictability that shows up. And the bedrock, which is as we go beneath the soil, remember that survival is what is kicking us beneath the soil. So as our body says, I am not safe, the body is making these decisions for survival. And it starts with performance going against perceived expectations and perceived reality, causing that self-doubt. And as we try to find perceived control, we go further down, deeper into beneath the soil, and that's the bedrock. This these set of narratives in the language of discipline that is giving us a checklist of kind of what is success, and we do everything on the checklist, or giving ourselves permission to fail. That's when we just totally throw a bomb on our lives and just explode everything because we don't feel like we can control it anymore. So we just blow it up. And then we have kind of a checklist of the things that we can do now that we don't worry about performance because we've already blown it up. So we can't really fail, or we can own our failing, self-sabotage. but we're not looking at success any longer. And for an anxious high achiever, that's really hard to do because we want to stay in perceived control. We want that internal locus of control, but you will hit chaos enough that you will eventually say, well, what's the point? And you'll get into what we call those binge states. And that is the bedrock, restricting and binging, narratives of checklists for each. And there's usually a core sentence for these narratives. It's going to be formed early, quietly, and it's still running your system today. And most of the time, you don't consciously actually know it's there. And it's kind of one of those things that when we say logically, I know, emotionally, I can't feel, that's the sentence. That's the sentence you're resisting. That's what you're avoiding. And so what we want to do is figure out how our bedrock sentences are forming. They're forming in moments where your nervous system had to adapt. A high stress event happened and our nervous system said, oh, this is how we're going to survive it. And that's the knowledge. Those are the pieces of implicit memory that we are holding on to, just like precious little gems. And those moments are like being criticized when we were actually really proud, being ignored when we were vulnerable, being praised only when we performed, feeling unpredictability in love, and feeling like we're too much or just not enough. Your system made an agreement to survive. And that agreement became a narrative, a sentence that we use over and over again with a checklist of factors that says this is exactly how we survive again. And so some of these examples are going to be, I'm going to have to do it all alone. It's up to me. I'm the only one who can do this. I'm only valuable when I achieve. If I rest, I will fall behind, or then I'm lazy and I'm failing. If I shine, I'll be attacked. If I trust, I'll be disappointed. I am too much. I'm not enough. It won't last. I want you to sit and think about those sentences. What narratives, you really thought about it and explored it, what narratives come up for you around performance, around success, around failure? Because these sentences feel like truth, but truly they're invalid data points. They're adaptations. They're the things that we held on to because it felt so needed at the time. And it's a younger version of ourselves running our adult lives. That's a dangerous combination. So today, we're giving ourselves permission to release them, to understand, find awareness for these sentences, these narratives we've been holding on to. Acceptance says there's no shame in the game. It came on honestly. We don't blame other people. We don't shame ourselves. We don't judge them. We see them. We accept them so that we know what we want to do with them. So I'm going to give you 3 ways to identify your bedrock sentence in case you haven't really connected with what it is. And it's really hard to connect with these. So don't feel like it's going to come or it should or could come. It's quicksand thinking. Follow the freeze. When you go to start something meaningful and freeze, ask, what am I afraid will happen if this works? That fear of success. Because your answer will be the sentence. Many times we get stuck in the performance anxiety spectrum. And we're actually vacillating from procrastination to perfectionism. It's all on the same spectrum. I have a link if that's something that you're interested in looking at. I did a whole article on it so that you can understand and learn more about the spectrum. But ultimately, that freeze moment is because we're terrified to put ourselves out there and be vulnerable and press play. Because what if it's not enough? And what if it is, and this is everything I have, and people are going to expect more? The second way you can start to notice what your narrative is follow the shame, that judgment. You may not think that it's shame and guilt, but that rumination, the what ifs, the shoulda, couldas, those are judgments. So when you start to attack yourself, what are you calling yourself? Are you lazy? Are you behind? Are you unlovable? Are you weak? Do you feel you're going to be abandoned? Do you feel like you are too much? That language, that's bedrock language. It will help you to connect to what your narratives are. And the third way to find what your narrative is, what these sentences in the bedrock that are lying and holding you here, is following a pattern. What is the reoccurring story in your life? Right now, I'm going through the Hallow App's 40 Days of Lent, and it's just such a beautiful thing. And Father Mike is talking about what's your story? And he talked about like the characters, and ultimately, what we're trying to find in 40 days is who will you become at the end of your story? Who's writing your story and who's leading your story? And for those of the Christian faith, spoiler alert, it's supposed to be God. But we live in a world of idols and we are constantly flooded by them. And it's hard to look inward or even upward when everybody is pulling for these hierarchies of looking outward. And those patterns get all mixed up. And when I say that we are tending other people's gardens, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Is these ideas of what success is, these perceived expectations, are other people's narratives that we have taken for ourselves. And in my key steps to living a happier and healthier life workbook, part 1, which is a framework for success, a life worth living under the DBT principles. One of the first chapters we do is we start to identify our core values. And when I did this exercise, because I wrote the book, I did the exercises. I edited the book, I did the exercises. I had a young professional women's group, I did the exercises. I talked about it in the group, I did the exercises. I edited after getting their input, I did the exercises. And every single time, up until the last time, about 5 times, I did this exercise. And I kept seeing freedom, or no, I kept seeing safety, security, safety, security. I own all these houses. Clearly, I love safety and security. It wasn't safety and security. That was something, that was an implicit message in me to be safe and secure. And truly, it's a universal construct. After I wrote part 2, I realized what I really loved about my houses, my garden, my travel, my business, everything that I do is around freedom, is around creativity, is around nourishing and empowering others to be their best self. That's what my true values are. It wasn't ever safety and security. That's what I leaned on. That was the narrative, my bedrock sentence that I held on to so tightly, and I was not letting it go. That's what we want to do is we want to get curious, follow the patterns. What is the reoccurring story in our lives? And is that who we want to be at the end of the story? Or do we want this to be the beginning that will give us that arc so that we can start to live out the story that we want? Do relationships seem to end in the same way or start in the same way? Do opportunities still kind of stall at some point? Do you lose momentum at the edge of growth? Patterns will protect the bedrock. We can get so far and then it will stop because then the unknown is there and it's like, ooh, nope, we don't go there. That's unknown. That's where all of our fear lives, in that darkness. And it's not being broken, it's being pattern. It's knowing that that is what is showing up, because that is where our consistency and our safety is. It's being present with that. And as you find that awareness, you'll start to learn to have acceptance. And that's where coaching really comes in handy. So book a session with me or Emma. We're here. We are here to support you in this journey. It's what we love to do. So please feel free. If you want support and somebody along with you in this journey, that's what we do. We sit right there in the passenger seat with you. We navigate the whole way. And now we're going to take a moment to just have some regulation. This is a lot of deep work, and I want you to honor yourself with it. This is a 30-minute live call. This is work that you'll be doing and sitting with. The work that I give you is not I finished it, homework, teacher, here's my homework. All of this stuff is meant for you to sit with it, to process it, to come back to it, to chew on it, to see what it feels like in your body, the sensations that come up as you engage with it, the thoughts, the feelings, and the behaviors that happen alongside it. It is all valued information, and we just want to be present with it. So before we go further, I want us to have a time to regulate. I say that word, and do you see how my body responds? I've got the motor memory ready. Put those feet flat on the floor. Do the kneading of the bread with your toes. Look around the room and name one thing that you see. And then take a small breath. If you feel activated right now, it makes sense. We are processing a lot of information right now. We are actively pursuing something that we've been programmed to avoid. So honor it. Take that time to be present with it. We are really coming close to a lot of old material, implicit messages that were meant to be hidden, quietly sitting there guiding us without our knowledge so that they can steer the ship to survival. But we are here, we are present, and we can choose to build the responses that we want. And as we are grounded, I want to invite you to finish this sentence privately. A little interactive reflection as we start to get into this work. If I really try, fill in the blank. If I really try, what would happen? What does it look like? What would you admit to yourself? Think about this one and sit with these in journal reflections. Remember, you don't have to do everything. You do have to press play once a day. These are great reflections to sit with for like 90 seconds every day. Easy press play. It's not that easy. 90 seconds doesn't feel that bad though. I can squeeze out an answer to if I really try in 90 seconds. How about if I let myself want more? How would you finish that sentence? What about if I slow down? What would that look like? How would that feel? What narratives come up when you let that enter your body? Take time to write these down, to think about them, to come back to them. If you're comfortable, you can feel like you can share them in the comment. We are here for you, to support you, to encourage you, to be present with you. And as we get into this place, remember that once we are below the soil, there's no nuances. It's life or death, success, failure, all or nothing. But when we build a den and subscribe, April's gonna be amazing. I'm really excited about April. We're burrowing in April in our cultivating mental blooms. We've been looking at our inner house this month of March and cultivating mental blooms. And in April, we're actually getting all up in the bedrock and we're burrowing. We're learning about the animals who actually live in the bedrock. We're learning about the sense of presence in our own den that we need to create for a sense of presence so we can nourish those roots. We are burrowing in April, and I can't wait to share with you what that looks like. So we're going to get really deep in this. And as we get into and accept the bedrock and we have the den that we are creating, curiosity is how you break through. Curiosity is how we stop fighting ourselves. That dissonance that happens between the mind and body when stress comes on, we break through that with curiosity. We break through that with mindfulness. And so here's an important part about curiosity is you don't fight the bedrock sentence. You get curious about it. Replace push with curiosity. It'll become the paramount in building lasting change. Instead of this belief is stupid, try, when do I learn this? When did I pick this up? Instead of, I need to get rid of this, like a ticking time bomb, try, how did this protect me? Have grace for yourself. You held on to it because it helped you survive. So just because it doesn't serve you now, just because it got you into more stress, don't judge it. It was there for a reason. And now you can put it like a leaf on a stream and send it down the river. And that's, again, those bubbles. You do the bubble activity. Put your thoughts in a bubble. Put your thoughts in a bubble. And what does it? They're like, it's got mud and weight in it. I can't just let it float away. Those are your bedrocks. They will. The more that you have curiosity, the more that you see that it served you to a point, because anxiety is good. It motivates you. It gives you energy. It pushes you. It's why you are successful. But there becomes a point where you hit it and that line stops pushing you forward and it starts holding you back. And that's what we're letting go of today. Is where did this line show up? And where is it that it's holding us back now? And where it's time to release it so we can push forward. Curiosity will pull you into a scientific mindset. These small experiments, independent adjustments, observing what creates safety. These are these tiny little micro steps that we talk about. We don't do really big things. It freaks the body out. It's like, no, 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 no. We do these little things. We're like, well, what would happen? Like, am I going to like spontaneously implode if I publicly speak? Probably not. I'm not going to love it. But if I get curious, I could talk to a stranger that's technically public speaking, and then I could see like it really wasn't that bad. And they didn't even know I was talking to them. So I was like winning. And then we're like, okay, well, maybe I could talk to people that I know, but like in a group. And we get curious of what it would look like and how distressed would I be if I did things that I thought I couldn't do. And I started leaning in on things that actually didn't feel that bad. So when I say I'll never do that, I actually don't mean I'll never do that. I mean that there are things that I don't want to do if I look at the ultimate. But as I look at the smaller steps, I realize that I do a lot of this every day. So there's something about that that made me feel unsafe. It wasn't that it was unsafe, it made me feel unsafe. And so as we realize that we no longer need to perform, we don't need to prove, we just need to be present and let life present. Your sentence helped you survive at some point. It was very useful for you. And now you get to decide if it still serves you. And so I want to leave you with this. You are not your bedrock sentence. You're not the narrative of performance. You are the one observing it. And observation is power. Between now and next Tuesday, your only assignment is to be aware and notice. Notice when your sentence is showing up. Don't correct it. Don't argue with it. Just say internally, that's my old agreement. That's the narrative that kept me safe. And as we breathe through it and we acknowledge it and accept it, we understand that we are not failing, that we're becoming aware. So slow down, reset, and I'll see you next Tuesday at 7 o'clock. Find those micro moments to get curious and notice what is driving your behaviors. And is it coming from performance or is it coming from presence? I'm Jennifer Evans with Empowering Wellness Counseling Solutions. Thank you so much.